We are building a proof of learning protocol that allows you to find great content to learn from, prove your skills while learning that content, and then access income earning opportunities. What we are building is a mapping pipeline and a proof of learning UI. And the building blocks of this project are concepts to be learned. So how do we get these concepts? Well, we get the concepts by deconstructing educational material, like YouTube videos, online courses, textbooks. And we take this educational material and break it down into concepts being taught. And each concept is then mapped out onto the multi-dimensional latent space. You can think of this as like a Google Maps for learning. This allows a learner to search for what they want to learn and then find recommended pathways to that learning destination. This, we are then loading onto a very simple UI. Think of a map where you can search for what you want to learn, prove your skills while learning that content, and then access income earning opportunities with that proof of learning. So now let's go into the detail. Let me describe the engine. How do we prove learning? The proof of learning engine works on the concepts that we've just deconstructed. So think of the concepts like how to write a smart contract. So how do we prove that you know how to write a smart contract? Well, the protocol requires you to earn points. So it's not a binary proof. It's not like, yes, you know, no, you don't. You need to earn multiple points. And these points are segmented into 3 stages. You have competency points, proven points, and mastery points. However, the points you earn decay over time based on how you learned them. And so if you've learned something 2 years ago and you haven't touched it since, those points may have decayed, and that's important. Thirdly, earning points is done through multiple different activities. So for example, in traditional learning, most of learning takes place through viewing content, right? You view the lecture, you go to classroom, you read the textbook. However, within this protocol, those type of activities can only get you competency points. In order to start proving that you understand the concept, you need to do more complex activities, like peer-to-peer validation, Q&A interactions. And then in order to prove that you've mastered that concept, you need to start teaching others. And you can do that through generating additional educational content and by publishing projects. And now something beautiful starts to happen. So up until now, I've been describing to you the learning map, which allows you to search for something you want to learn. Now, however, the community starts building what we call the doing side of the map, which is all the things that you can do with what you've learned. From this point onwards, a learner can not only search for what they want to learn, but they can search for what they want to do. And this is very powerful. The last thing I wanted to share on this particular slide is that the only difference between a learner and a teacher is the number of points they have in a particular concept. Remember, however, that points decay over time. So while you may be a teacher at present, in 3 months from now, if you don't continually learn or teach others, those points may decay. So what makes this powerful? One is the underlying latent space. This allows us to do multiple very powerful things, but one of those is that we can back propagate points according to what you've just learned. Let's say you've just learned how to write a smart contract in Rust. Well, that infers that you know how to code in Rust. That infers that you have some understanding of blockchain technology or other concepts. These points could therefore be back propagated to all the relevant concepts that build up to what you've just learned. The connections between these nodes is the second important thing that is really powerful. So in traditional education, we have one-size-fits-all pathways which determine the best way for you to learn something. But we believe that it's the network that should decide the optimized path to learn something. This is very similar to the way that Google Maps works. Google Maps doesn't have engineers that decide, this is the best way to get from Berlin to Paris. No, they rely on the network to decide that. That takes into account real-time traffic data or the preferences of the traveler. We are doing the same. The third point that makes this really powerful is that most proof of learning points earned are earned through a blind consensus mechanism, a Futaki method, which is a mechanism that optimizes the network to prove the learning of the network. And this is really powerful. So let me end off with the business model, and this is where it gets really exciting. The business model also works on these concepts we deconstructed, and it all starts with the investor. Now, the investor is anybody who wants to learn or anyone who wants others to learn. So let's look at this first point, someone who wants to learn. So let's say you and I, we want to learn something. We would subscribe to the protocol just like we would to LinkedIn Learning or Coursera or Skillshare. However, the vast majority of that subscription fee goes to the treasury to increase the value of the tokens held in the treasury. Now, the Treasury holds a token, and that token can be converted to fiat. And so there's real world value in the tokens being held in the Treasury, and the value of those tokens is dependent on how much investment has been placed into the Treasury. So a second type of investor is someone who wants others to learn. So imagine a parent who wants their child to learn, a company who wants their employees to learn, or a Web3 company who desperately needs new engineers to learn their technology, or a government who wants their citizens to learn, or a nonprofit who wants, let's say, girls in Afghanistan to learn literacy and numeracy. All of these can be regarded as investors. Investors are able to sponsor concepts that they think are most valuable for people to learn. And what this does is it adds a multiplier to how many tokens you can earn when you learn this particular concept. Now, notice two important things here. One is we have a direct relationship between the market and the topic being learned. Now, suddenly we have a market who in real time can influence what learners want to learn. And the second important point to realize here is that we get rid of that 10 to 15 year gap between, let's say, a government identifying that we desperately need new engineers, and then it taking 10 to 15 years before the public school system has implemented the courses and curriculum to teach those skills. Here we are saying that there's a direct relationship between supply and demand. And this is really powerful. Now, learners can choose to learn what they want to learn, and they're incentivized to learn what the market deems is most valuable for them to learn. However, it's totally up to the learner. Notice here that learners are earning tokens simply by learning. This means that no matter what your socioeconomic status is, learners can afford to use this platform because they can simply cover their subscription cost by learning and teaching others. And now I want to share with you the first real powerful feedback loop. Remember I said that the only difference between a learner and a teacher is the number of points they've earned within that particular concept. So quite quickly, we have learners earning enough points to become masters, and then they graduate to become teachers. And this is when the first positive feedback loop happens. Because as soon as you're a teacher, you have an additional multiplier to how many tokens you can earn by teaching other learners and getting them to become teachers. Notice here one more thing, is that we can quickly identify the best teachers within the network, because the best teachers will have earned the most mastery points. Mastery points, which, like I said, have a decay function. So you can't just become a teacher and then suddenly rely on that success for the rest of your life. No, you need to continually learn and teach to retain those mastery points. So initially you earn tokens by learning. Once you learned enough to become a master, you're now doubly incentivized to teach others to learn that same concept. Now, the second exciting feedback loop is quite quickly the teachers would have saturated the market. They would have taught all the students that they could possibly teach. But now something exciting happens. The network is incentivized to find other learners. Learners who then invest in the system, increasing the value of the tokens held in the treasury, which in turn increases the value of the tokens already being earned by learners and teachers, who are increasing the value of the tokens they themselves can earn by learning and teaching others. And so it's this beautiful feedback mechanism. And all of this is so that learners can find really interesting things to learn, earn proof of their learning, and then find income earning opportunities. Now, to learn more about this project, you can find us at PoLP.io, or you can find me on Twitter or email.